Welcome back to the DreamApp YouTube channel. My name is Jesse Lyon, Chief Dream Scientist, and today we're talking about the secret symbols in the Sandman that you probably missed. So before we get started, I know the things you probably want to hear the most about are the ruby, the helm, and the sand. There are so many deep and impactful symbolism elements that relate to those that I need to tell you about. But before we do, I've got to have a little moment. I've got to have a little shout out for our boy, Matthew, the Raven, right? And before we jump into this, if you haven't seen the Sandman, there will 100% be spoilers in this. We're talking very deeply from beginning to end about all the episodes, what they mean, and what you probably missed from me as a dream scientist. But like I said, the show would not be complete without talking about Matthew the Raven. And Matthew the Raven is incredibly important to the storyline, one, but also has some deep symbolism that most people probably don't understand. Ravens have been a symbol for human beings for eons. We've been talking about ravens and using ravens in stories since really before modern writing and technology was even invented. I think one of the best cases of understanding is that Norse mythology has talked about the raven since kind of its invention as well. So, but what does it mean? A raven is very symbolic for insight. And the raven, because it's all about insight and really having that vision into the future that ravens can have, they can kind of predict some things that are sad, because really when you look far enough into the future, you're always going to find death. And death is not a bad thing, but it's the end. And if you look far enough forward, you'll always find the end of whatever experience you're having. So ravens can kind of have that sort of mystical shadow element to them just because of their symbolic nature. They mean insight, and the farther that you look into insight, you're going to recognize that certain things in your life always come to an end. And that's why it's so important that Morpheus, Dream, has a raven with him, because it provides him insight into what's going on. It gives him a second set of eyes. And in Norse mythology, this holds true as well. Norse mythology talked about Hunin and Munin were Odin's two ravens, and Hunin and Munin would circle the globe every day and report back to Odin what was happening. Now, Hunin was from the Old Norse word for thought. So this raven represented our thoughts and how our thoughts can provide us insight into the future. Munin was the Old Norse word for memory. So you can see memory provides us insight. By looking into the past, we're able to avoid mistakes that we've made back there, so we can move forward with better opportunities and avoid those obstacles that probably tripped us up back there. So let's talk about the thing that you came here for, the sand. What is the sand? Why does they use sand? You know, there's so many other things, like couldn't he use like a sword or, you know, a gun or a staff or something else? No, he can't, because sand is incredibly important and has some intense symbolism. Sand, in a biblical sense, represents the thoughts of the gods. Sand, you think about two things: the shifting sands that we think about in those Bible verses where it says, don't build your house upon shifting sands, build it on a solid foundation, and an hourglass, the passage of time. And so sand really has a lot to do with the power of the gods. You know, you can try and build your house on rock and stone, and that's going to be more stable, but if you leave it up to this, the gods will move the sand and change things, and it's the passage of time that in the end gets us. So seeing sand in a dream actually indicates that you're letting time pass you by, and that you're struggling with really grabbing onto and taking a hold of the opportunities that you're experiencing in the present. This is why it can feel like, you know, the world is against you or fate is against you, because it's slipping through your fingers. It's missed opportunity. And so if you see this in your dream, it has a lot to do with those feelings inside of you. Now, what about the ruby? Wow, the ruby, one of my favorites. It's actually my birth month stone, so I'm a little bit biased. That's okay. I think it's one of the best symbols in the movie. The ruby is very powerful, and you can see when in the wrong hands of John, it causes some really dramatic problems. Now, of course, Sandman and this series comes from the DC Comics, which was, you know, kind of originally the inspiration for this, but Neil Gaiman, a masterful storyteller, takes it and adapts it in little ways to make the Netflix series. But in the DC Comics, the Dreamstone was actually called Matteropticon, and it was used as a reality-altering weapon by the Justice League, and specifically the supervillain John Dee, aka Dr. Destiny. And so this stone not only has like a storyline of its own, but it has some deep symbolism as well. If you see a ruby in your dream, it has a lot to do with wealth and prosperity. This is a good thing. Gems in general mean prosperity, wealth, opportunity. You know, if you've got that gem in your pocket, you know, that wealth in your pocket, you can buy your way out of tight situations. You can by potential as an opportunity to make it out of the struggles that you're facing. You're not destitute, you're not broke, because you have the jewel. Now, the ruby in particular is a red stone, and red is deeply symbolic of love, anger, passion, right? And so you can see you have this potential power inside the stone, this wealth of opportunity symbolized by the jewel itself, but even deeper, the ruby means that there's love and passion and anger and opportunity. It really reminds us, and this is why rubies were valued so much in the beginning, it reminds us of the blood that is in all of our veins. So there's only one symbol left, and it's the helm. It's that weird sort of mask thing that he wears. It looks like a gas mask, right? And it's got like this spine coming out of it. Now, I actually did some research on my own about this to try and understand what was really going on here, because gas mask means something, spine means another thing, and we'll talk about that. But why are they together? And after looking into it, I found that this is actually a direct pull from the DC Comics, and it has a history and a story of its own, much like the Ruby Stone does. The design of Dream's helmet also resembles a gas mask. This is a reflection of how Neil Gaiman's The Sandman is a reboot of the Golden Age DC Comics character called the Sandman. Wesley Dodds is the original name of Morpheus the Sandman, and he was a wealthy playboy turned costumed crime fighter, kind of like Batman, right? Same sort of vibe here. Now, he wore a gas mask, and he did that because he would use this sleeping agent to put criminals to sleep and then, kind of take care of crime throughout the city. So the gas mask is used as a direct kind of reference to the DC Comics and just kind of a nod to the origin of that character in general. The gas mask helping protect him from the sleeper agent that he uses to fight criminals. Now, the spine that comes out of the gas mask is actually from a god. Dream crafted the helmet eons ago from the bones of a dead god, which explains that kind of weird appearance that it has. Now, from a more practical sort of dream standpoint, a gas mask is protection. It is just that. It is something that kind of keeps out the toxicity in your life. And so if you're seeing a gas mask in your dream, you may need to think about what's toxic in your environment that you need to protect yourself from, and maybe just get out of there. Some toxic relationships, some toxic work environments, whatever it is. And having the spine come out of the gas mask is so perfect, because a spine, think about it, grow a backbone, right? A spine is your confidence. It's what keeps you erect. It's what guides your posture, and it's what really is the backbone of your identity. So having a backbone come out of that not only is the protection, the care, and keeping out the toxicity of the thoughts and feelings of others, but it's also the strength symbolized by that backbone. And putting those two together, it makes sense. It's one of the most powerful tools that Dream has at his disposal, and makes sense why other people would want to steal it and why he had to fight in hell to get it back. So before we wrap up this episode, I want to take a moment to point out in episode 8, the question that Lyda has about her husband. Is this a ghost or is this a dream? And you can see how she becomes pregnant after having that dream with her husband. And you can see that pregnancy carries into her waking life. Pregnancy being a wonderful symbol for a new opportunity, but specifically a new identity, which makes sense as she's struggling with processing the grief from her husband. She becomes pregnant with a new identity inside of her. She's single now. She's a widow. And she has to reinvent who she is so she can overcome this experience and move forward into the future with her new identity. But you can see how it travels with her outside of the dream. And to me, that was the most heartwarming part, because it asks this question: are dreams real? And the answer from the Sandman is yes. Your dreams are real. At DreamApp, being the chief dream scientist, I make it a point to talk with all of the dream experts and everyone on the team and really kind of hone in and almost be a little bit very aggressive about this idea. We do not use the term real life and dream life. There's no such thing as real life. Dreams are real. So we talk about waking life and dream life, because there is a whole third of your life that is experienced through dreams, and it's the reality, the real reality, the real consciousness, dream consciousness of your mind working through its experiences, processing your emotions, and helping you heal and helping you move forward as a human being. It is not dream life and real life. It's dream life and waking life, because both are important, and without them, you wouldn't be human. Thank you so much for watching this episode of DreamApp YouTube channel. My name again is Jesse Lyon, Chief Dream Scientist. Please hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified every time there's new dream content that will answer your hardest hitting questions about emotions and what your mind's trying to tell you while you sleep. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.